This week on the Movie Stuff Show, we wish a happy birthday to Arnie with a retro review of Last Action Hero, and then we'll talk about using some magic tickets and do a quick rundown of our favorite Arnold films. Stay tuned. And welcome once again to the Movie Stuff Show. My name's Dan. Joining me, my co-hosts Abe and Marty.
Hey, what's going on?
And in celebration of a great Austrian man, we have our great Austrian man, Stefan.
Hi.
It's required by law.
Nice to be on again.
It is. You have an Arnold Schwarzenegger celebration, you have to have an Austrian on the show, and it's in our contract. So
Cousin Arnold.
Is he still a big deal in Austria? Is this Arnold still a big deal, or is he just kind of faded because he's too American now?
No, of course it's a big deal, I think. But he is received controversially, Austria, actually. Yeah. Because
controversial?
Yeah, I think so.
Why?
Because, Austrians are like to be jealous. So jealous. Small-minded folk a little, and
I mean, it's
on the
amazing.
other hand, they like to pride themselves with things they didn't achieve. So it's a bit of a twisted situation. Yeah.
That's funny.
Are you going to say something?
It's amazing that he's gotten a pass on almost everything he's done here. Like he ruined California for the most part.
California was already kind of ruined anyway.
They found out he had a secret love child with his maid. It was just like, what, Arnold, you scamp.
Really though, is the maid that much worse looking than Maria Shriver? I mean, come on. I mean,
he had the kid coming around and just.
That kid looks just like him too.
No one said
it's like looks
years.
Just like him. It's like ridiculous. It really is like the Mexican Arnold Schwarzenegger, that kid.
And they're just like, what are you gonna do?
He could have been in Expendables if Sylvester Stallone's kid hadn't.
Wasn't he? He was in one of them, wasn't he?
What?
Who? Arnold's kid?
Arnold's kid?
Arnold's kid.
I'm talking like Expendables 16. The Next Generation. That'd have been awesome.
So, of course, Sunday was Arnold's 70th birthday, so we decided to do a retro review of Last Action Hero. And then after that, if we have some time left, we'll kind of just discuss our favorite Arnold films. I don't think that this will be in that list, but, it's funny, though, is Last Action Hero is a divisive film. I've seen people call it bad. I've seen people say that it's ahead of its time. Some people just say it's kind of a mediocre film with some great elements to it. It's all over the map of how people kind of describe this. And, I got to say, when I was younger, I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. Like, it didn't really appeal to me. And in this most recent rewatch, I actually found it to be a fun movie. I had a good time with it. My main issue with it is I feel that it's too long. It drags a bit. There's probably like... I know it is. I think it's only like 2 hours and 10 minutes, but it still feels like it's like 20, 25 minutes too long. And overall, though, I thought it was very entertaining. I thought it was kind of one of the first films I can think of being meta in regards to what it was trying to accomplish. So let's go around. Let's get some initial reactions. I know Stefan has some strong feelings about it, so let's start with him.
I think his movie is, I said actually to mostly mediocre with some really awful parts and a few good parts. I think the main problem with the movie is it doesn't really succeed at what it's is setting out to do, so what it tries to do, I think as an homage to the 80s action movies, it works like to 50% and not always good. And as an homage to Schwarzenegger movies, it doesn't work at all. It's bullshit.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It doesn't work as an homage to Schwarzenegger movies because it's a Schwarzenegger movie. It just
because if they just had let Schwarzenegger play another fictitious action hero, action actor, it would have maybe worked. But this way, this is kind of a character. He plays a character. Maybe we go into depth later. That he never played in any movie before. It doesn't hit the nail on the head at all. It's like, this is all stuff, this cop he plays here, this is all Mel Gibson, this is Bruce Willis. There's even some Chuck Norris in there and Steven Seagal, but it's never a character he played.
No, this is not an Arnold. Yeah. This is not an Arnold movie at all. You're right. This is a Lethal Weapon movie.
Yeah. No, totally is.
Lethal Weapon, the whole serial killer plot, that's this Chuck Norris territory.
That's, or Sylvester Stallone,
right.
like Cobra or something. Yeah.
Cobra territory. Yeah. This doesn't really go into depth.
But don't you think that's part of the fun of it, though? Is the fact is that he's playing these other action heroes that are in his
not really. It doesn't work.
In his circle, no?
Because you see, every movie he is in, and he plays a regular schlub, doesn't work. That's something interesting observation. If you see like 6th Day or something, that never works if he plays a regular guy. Usually, sometimes when he's a regular guy and then it turns out he's actually like a spy, like in True Lies, in Total Recall, then it works. It only works if he plays larger-than-life characters.
What about Jingle All the Way? What about Jingle All the Way, Stefan?
Don't ruin his top pick for later.
Yeah, really. Abe, what do you think? I know you're kind of agreeing a little bit with Stefan here, but
I'm kind of in the middle of you. I didn't think it was that great of fun, and I didn't think it was as bad as Stefan says. I'm kind of like in the middle between you two.
I'd say it has good elements. I want to say, but maybe we'll talk about it later.
It starts off strong, and then just gets weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. And I hate when they bring Arnold or Jack Slater into the real world. I didn't like that part.
Really? Oh, really?
I thought that was the worst part of the movie.
I see. My issue with that is that it just happened too late. I feel like they kind of it became so repetitive at a point. Like again, if that stuff happens like a good 45 minutes earlier, I think it works better. I think, and then the whole thing about the as great as it was seeing Gandalf in here, there's no point in death being in this movie.
That was so random.
Very just like so blatant of what they're trying, the message they're trying to do about what our world is like and how horrible our world can be and how
hit him, Stefan, hit him. I know you got something to say.
This is really a mixed message, It's like, what's the message? Message is like, movies are bad because they're projecting an image that isn't real. Something there's something of that in there, that it's just we shouldn't like. But on the other hand, if you see
that reality is worse than movies, though, I mean the fact that Charles Dance is going around like just killing people in New York and like hello, I can actually be evil.
That's the problem because the way New York is depicted is also exaggerated. It's ridiculous, You can't.
Well, this was 90.
This was pre-Giuliani.
93 New York. So this is
this is actually bad New York.
No,
it's not horrible New York.
It wasn't 70s
on the Times Square,
80s crack New York, but still it was pre-Giuliani New York.
This was post-Dinkins beginning Giuliani New York. Yeah. So Giuliani hadn't got it done yet.
You don't think that was any stylized, no?
I mean, of course it was stylized. I lived in New York in 1993. It's not so much better than this, but it was. You couldn't shoot. You could shoot somebody and not scream about it. But,
I think they got the smut amount right. There was enough, like the sex shops and then all that stuff were still around.
Yeah, that was still.
Disney came to town. Yeah. Once Disney came to town, that was it.
My opinion is it's irresponsible to show reality like this. It's even more irresponsible than show it like in a Jack Slater movie.
My thing is with the reality shouldn't. My thing is the movie is like 4 different things. First, it's a spoof on action hero movies, but that doesn't work because you're spoofing the guy who's in the spoof. And then it's a movie about this kid who's obsessed with movies, but then he's validated almost because movies are real, I guess. And he has this magic ticket thing. And then we're in the movie, and the plot of the movie that we're in still matters for some reason, even though we're realizing it's not real. And then it's almost sad because Arnold's character lives this kind of fake, sad life. So are we supposed to feel bad for this guy at that point? And then we get to the real world, and then there's a whole other plot there in the real world where that shouldn't matter either because Jack Slater shouldn't work in the real world, but he still works.
That's a massive
big
problem
mistake.
I have.
Yeah.
The bad guy's gun shouldn't work in the real world.
I think even on a more fundamental level, Jack is learning that how he acted in the fictional world doesn't work in the real world, but he still ends up defeating he still ends up defeating the slasher in exactly a Jack Slater kind of way.
Yeah, he's swinging from the roof. He's,
he's chopping the wires down to electrocute him as he's spinning over. It doesn't work.
He didn't figure out a new way to do it in the real world. He still just did it. It took him 2 minutes to kind of look around like, wow, this is crazy.
Right.
But then it was like, all right, they just went right back to doing Jack Slater
stuff. Back to it. There's no point in being the real world. There's no real
At least an animated cat didn't come and save him in the real world.
That cat's the best man he's got.
I was waiting for Paula Abdul to jump out.
Those little things were funny. The little shit in the movie was funny, but they didn't go anywhere with it because then the fake plot in the movie still had consequences somehow. Like they were still doing all the stupid mob shit while the cartoon cat was there.
I have to take a quick moment to mention all the cool people in the chat. By the way, so in the chat right now we got Robert Melee, Talia, some girl named Kelly Gum is in the chat. Marty, I don't know if you know her. M Vance 15 just came out to check out Abe's sweet bod.
Can't fault anybody for that.
Leaving off that. And Ponyboy's actually asking about Stefan and a guest that Stefan recently had in Austria. We won't talk about that.
Oscar and Felix, yes.
Hello, chat. I think back to the topic about does this movie work? My question is, was this an introduction to meta, and what has been done since this time that has done this better?
Well, wasn't there a very similar movie to this right around the same time with Chuck Norris, where there was this kid? Yeah, the sidekick. The kid had always dreamed that Chuck Norris was with him. And he kind of lived in this fantasy world. This was kind of a thing where the kid got to live in the fantasy. And I wonder if at any point they just thought to take this movie and it'd be so much easier just to make all of it a dream at the end, as opposed to this random world where the movie still is real and exists somewhere, and there's another Arnold somewhere. I mean, it would have been, I guess, cliche to just make it all a dream, but that would have made a little more sense, I think, if he just woke up at the theater at the end instead of this whole Death is walking through the streets of New York and he killed a cop for some reason. And then Arnold just goes back to the movies where he now knows he's a movie, but it's okay, I guess. It's really there's no finality to any of it. Arnold Jack Slater gave the kid the lesson at the end, but that kind of about, living, being a real, going out and live your whole life instead of living in movies. But if I knew that the movies were real, then why would I go live my own life? It made more sense if it was a dream, because then he would, know that, okay, this isn't real. I have to go live my own life. But he just learned that the movies are real. So why would you go care to go make friends at that point? So,
well, the movies aren't necessarily real. He makes them real when he gets sucked into it.
Yeah, but he still got that ticket's still there.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. See, the ticket I have a real problem with. And the fact they made it Houdini. Houdini of all fucking people. The guy that loved to debunk every mystic and spiritualist out there. Houdini hated people that claimed to believe in real magic. I was just... God.
Who do you think it should have been?
It should have been
Who's your favorite magician?
It should have been a demonic projectionist who is trying to get Danny to lose his soul, like it was in the original draft of the screenplay.
Ah, was that so? Okay, let's talk about the screenplay real quick. So Shane Black co-wrote the screenplay. So did he basically come in and just rewrite it?
Yeah,
is that essentially what happened?
Yeah, a shitload of it. Yeah, I mean everything's different. Danny's older. Danny gets sucked in the movie. Arno, which is the name of the character, Arno Slater, doesn't get pulled into the real world at all. And just by Danny being just a normal person asking questions, it causes a crisis of faith from an action hero. He's thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't kill every bad guy. Maybe I should arrest some. Maybe violence isn't always the solution. Just Danny being there and asking him some questions. And then Danny, in the flip side, just being in an action movie, becomes much more violent. And he's tired of getting pushed around by bullies. Normal bullies, not people that like demand that you stab them in the back with a knife in your bathroom. Normal,
Yeah, that was dark.
normal bullies. Yeah. And so Danny becomes a bit more of an action hero. Arnold becomes a bit more calm. And then, Arnold teaches them the lesson that violence perpetuates more violence.
Yeah, that was nowhere in this.
No. There's no lesson.
No. Yeah, like I said, the only lesson they try to throw in at the end.
I think, yeah.
And it didn't. It was like by then you didn't like when he brings him back into the movie, and he gives him that speech there, By that point, it was like you didn't give a shit anymore what the lesson was. And
So-
to Dan's point, I think it would have made sense if instead of Dan, the kid, going into the movie, Arnold should have came out of the movie, and then you just spent the whole time in the real world. I think that would have worked. That would have worked better as a movie instead of having, like I said, it was almost an hour in the movie and then an hour out, almost like 20 minutes, half hour out of the movie. It's a very long movie. It's crazy.
But that's the thing. It's not in the scheme of things. It's like
they weren't making
little over
movies
2
as long
hours,
back then.
but it felt so long.
93. Back then, the action movies were not almost 2.5 hours long back in the early 90s.
And again, I had fun watching this, and I do think that it's an entertaining movie. It's got some really high points to it. I think Tom Noonan, hashtag synergy. Since I do believe we have a Tom Noonan interview here on our channel somewhere. And also Al Leong. Yeah. Hashtag synergy. We also have an Al Leong interview here on this channel. He played one of the goons that gets blown up in the van. I think Tom Noonan was awesome. I really had fun. And then I liked when he was at the premiere. And he's actually playing regular Tom Noonan.
I liked his agent.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a funny thing I noticed though if you watch it back because when he's talking, he talks to the phone and then like as they cut away from it, he goes back to the phone. The phone is closed and upside down, and he's still talking to it. It's just funny.
That's how agents work, aren't they? Yeah.
There's another problem with the whole part in the real world, that is that everything interesting has already happened when it starts. Because I think the showdown is a total cop-out when he says Benedict, oh yeah, he's going to get Freddy Krueger and King Kong, and then he gets the lousy Ripper and himself, and they're defeated. Then death comes in. This is, I think this is very disappointing. I was very disappointed the first time when I saw it. I think they ran out of money at that point. Something.
Well, I just don't think they had the rights to mention all those people. I don't think they had the rights to actually show any of them.
Sony had a bunch of characters.
Yeah, but you could have just showed some imaginary monsters, whatever.
That was. That's a crazy.
It was just really too small scale for the rest of the movie.
There
wasn't anything
so unnecessary.
Yeah. I mean, if you'd introduced that thought earlier on in the movie, it would have made sense. But to shoehorn in the last 10 minutes to bring in King Kong and fucking Freddy or something, I think this would have
could have brought in something else. I don't know. It's not.
Well, because they never they never said what happened at the. They really went into what happened with the Ripper and the kid in the first part. Then they, I guess, had to flash back to it.
Can we talk
I think
about
the
that
old
for a
story
second?
with the I mean, the movie starts with the biggest defeat of Slater. That was a big mistake.
And my big question to you guys is Danny's sitting in the theater. He's watching that. Then it goes out of focus. He runs upstairs and talks to Nick. Nick puts the movie back in focus. What the fuck action movie ends with the bad guy pulling the son off the roof and they both plummet to their death? What action movie ends like that? None. It's bullshit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
You find out in a mid-plot twist, like in Lethal Weapon 2, that Danny wasn't, or that the kid wasn't killed in a car accident. It was on purpose or something like that. That's a plot twist, not my kid's on the pavement. Roll credits.
Didn't Shane Black write Lethal Weapon? That's one of the ones he wrote. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
I also liked in that first scene that Tina Turner was the mayor.
Yeah,
that was funny.
Just fun. And he punched the lieutenant governor in the face. little foreshadowing, I suppose.
I think this movie could have done without that whole mob subplot. I think you could have cut that whole thing out and just got Arnold and all the bad guy. Like Charles Dance didn't have to be that mob stuff at the funeral, it just whatever. It was just an extra action sequence.
didn't-
with
Yeah,
it was
a
a-
giant crane.
That's
did
what I mean.
nothing.
Like there was still things happening in the fake movie that were still mattering somehow. Even though we established it's not a real movie, why is it still? Why do we still care about the fat bomb, whatever, the fart guy?
And they do a terrible job of even explaining it. They had to like
Yeah,
that
right.
scene where they're explaining it in the car. That had to be like, oh shit, we didn't explain it yet. We gotta just get you some exposition fast. We gotta Chris Nolan this quick.
Oh, speaking of Chris Nolan, I watched The Prestige last night, which you have not seen, Abe. So you should go watch that. Speaking of magic and magicians, I wanted one of those magicians to build that ticket.
How about making the bad guy at the end, like Stefan was saying? How about making him like maybe a robot Arnold or something like that? Why not pull Arnold from a different
T-1000? And then
You see, the problem wasn't they didn't show King Kong. The problem is that they went really uncreative with the whole thing. They promised something creative, and it was just a complete dud. It just ended with a really silly speech by Charles Dance and by this Whipper, and then this another silly speech by the Death, and it's actually quite a downer. So Arnold settles with the fact that he has no place in the real world and goes back. I don't know.
Which is completely opposite of how Zach Penn wrote the original script. Arnold gets pulled out of the movie at the very end, and he's walking out of the theater and throws his gun and badge in the trash can and goes off into New York. Much more optimistic.
Much better, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, some of the changes they made.
Also,
I think all
why
this sappy stuff that work anyway.
Yeah.
why go from L.A. to New York? Why not just have the kid live in L.A. and then have the movie version of L.A. and then the real L.A.? Like going to New York there's no big Hollywood premiere really in New York. So the idea that Schwarzenegger would be there and the big they have premieres in New York. I'm not gonna lie, but there's never that huge production that they had in this movie. That's usually a Hollywood premiere. So it just would have made more sense, I thought, to go from the fake L.A. to the real L.A. as opposed to just going to New York for no reason.
Because nobody's scared of L.A.
I guess, yeah.
Nobody's scared of L.A.
Well, I mean, parts of California you could have done, I guess.
Oakland? Yeah, the premiere's in Oakland.
Well, you could have the kid live in Oakland and then travel to somewhere for a theater. It was also a pretty sad statement about movies in general. I guess the theater was going out of business.
Yeah, again, I think Stefan's right that the real world is just hyper stylized too. It's not any. It's just as big of a fraud in this movie as
and this was designed as the big blockbuster.
Yeah, well,
And then they make a plot about my old movie theaters are dying. Actually, we are contributing, but
well, it was kind of like a self-inflicted wound or self-predicting because like the week right before this came out, Jurassic Park came out, and I think Mrs. Doubtfire came out right around the same time too. It just cannibalized this whole thing, whole market. Because, again, I think we can talk about the original script and we can talk about like what exactly happened. And I think the intent was to get this to be more of a kid-friendly film, try to tap into the kid market, and it doesn't feel like a kids movie. It doesn't work as a kids movie. So I kind of feel that. Dark. Yeah, I feel like them going too young with the kid actor. Was a huge risk, and it didn't pay off because the younger you go with the kids, the less quality acting you're going to tend to get. So if you do even a little bit of an older kid, maybe it works a little bit better. Again, I didn't think this kid was awful, but Shane Black does, right? Shane Black thought the kid was awful.
I think so, yeah. Why does this kid have leprosy in the theater when he's eating the popcorn? Just those open sores all over his fingers and hands. It just
because he was just mugged or whatever the fuck it was, kidnapped in his own house.
Yeah, but I mean, like, okay. I imagine there's a lot of people that have been mugged and don't have, just little tiny sores all over every finger.
It's a gritty New York. The kid's an asshole, really. I mean, he cut school all the time.
He cut school.
He was out.
Mom says not to leave.
I think, the whole kid thing. I think this is owed to the success of the Home Alone movies, all the John Hughes stuff. So it's like a bit of an attempt. It seems like an attempt of Schwarzenegger to fusion his fuse his action movies with his comedies a little, with his more kid-friendly comedies.
He was the one that pushed.
That didn't really work. Yeah.
I mean, there's some ironically funny things in this movie, but they don't really go for many jokes. The only joke stuff that happens is the pointing out fake shit stuff. I mean, it's really.
Oh, I think the movie's wall-to-wall jokes, but Danny's always there to say, "This is the joke. This is the joke. This is the joke." Just every step of the way.
The jokes became so repetitive towards the end. That's what I'm saying. Is just they kept doing like a lot of the same things. So by the fourth rendition of the same joke, it was like, I keep saying my biggest gripe about this is just it was too long. It just ran its course. Like this movie is an hour and a half.
Yeah, you cut out that whole crane scene, which actually takes a while.
It does. The build up to it, and the whole like the quote unquote twist of the other cop that you saw coming from a mile away.
Practice.
And then the cat comes in and saves the day. Like all that stuff was totally unnecessary. And I don't know if it was, again, you're making fun of action films, but you're also trying to be an action film, trying to be a summer blockbuster. So you got to include some of these absurd action sequences. We're going to get into a topic in a little bit, so I won't mention it, but Abe's alluded to it. We'll get into the topic a little bit. So I guess just overall, Stefan, you said that you thought this was pretty mediocre or whatever, but you had some high points to it. What were some of the high points?
I think what was maybe really a little ahead of its time was the way it was shot. I think McTiernan was the first one who did this thing with the zooms, with like nervous zooms, just pan on the side and then zoom to an object in the background. And the way it was stylized wasn't too bad, I actually think. Yeah, I think he was ahead of this. He did the same thing later he refined it a little with the third Die Hard movie. I think that was pretty interesting. Yes, so far. Yeah. And of course, the mid approach alone was maybe interesting, but yeah, it wasn't just.
Fright
it
Night.
was just execution. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna whisper to you. Fright Night. It was already done. Fright Night.
Hashtag synergy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's best. Yeah, I mean, in the end, the action, it works better as an action movie than as a comedy.
Yeah, I think so.
That's the weird thing, yeah.
It's making fun of action films, but it still works as an action. There's some fun action sequences. Yeah, it's very silly, like the whole chicken sequence when they're in the real world, and he crashes the car into the cab. And it was a fun sequence, but I'm thinking it's like he'd still be a lot more banged up than that when he got out of that car, airbag or not. Like his nose would have probably been busted open or something.
But it was a great shot though. That
was cool. It was a fun sequence though.
And the crane scene Marty didn't like when that elevator collapses. That was a fantastic action sequence. You can't see the wires or anything. I thought that was amazing.
Shot that too. I had always remember that shot when he's like holding the elevator thing and he picks off and he's kind of falling and looking at it. I think Arnold was good in this movie. I mean, the movie itself might not be good. It's silly.
No, he was terrible. He was terrible.
I thought he had fun with it. I thought he had fun with it.
I think he sounded really disingenuous with his line reading.
Well, yeah, but
usually. Everything what comes out of Arne's mouth is instantly quotable. This one had like two really quotable lines.
Was this the movie that like he really started talking a lot more in? Like you think about like even like some of the ones we'll probably get into later. Like it seemed like he had a lot of dialogue in this film where even with Terminator 2, which came out the year prior to that, his dialogue was still like. Not to this level. I think this was kind of the jumping off period where like, okay, now Arnold can just talk as much as he wants in his films.
Let me see what happened.
Well, to Stefan's point, I wonder if they were just writing the script right before they even shot the sequence.
Well, that's Shane Black's way.
Yeah, try this line, try that line, try this line, try that line. And I think
literally how Shane Black wrote Predator.
Yeah. Yeah. But so I think that was it. They were in such chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also what.
Well, he had already done Kindergarten Cop before this. So.
Okay.
A minor criticism I have is that you didn't see the helicopter explode.
Oh, yeah.
Something you can't do in an action movie, you know. You have to see it explode. And this is like symptomatic for the whole movie. It's all a tease. The whole thing is a bit of a tease, but it doesn't. There is no real payoff to this movie. I think that's what makes it really frustrating.
Okay.
In the end, they have to tie it together really, really poorly. The whole thing.
I'm gonna start mixing some stuff topics into here. So I guess Abe alluded to this, and I want to get your take on it. That this is pretty much a parody of Mel Gibson action films, and you're essentially having Arnold playing mostly a Mel Gibson role. Abe, do you want to elaborate on that?
Oh, I think that's absolutely right. It feels, I think we've already touched on it pretty well, but yeah, it feels much more like it's really taking a shot directly at Shane Black and all the Lethal Weapon tropes. The bad cop taking place on Christmas. Yeah, it just was a Mel Gibson. And
the boss,
that's more of a Die Hard
the cop
thing,
boss.
Yeah.
No.
Christmas?
Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon took place on Christmas. Yeah. Same thing.
Which one? The first one?
Yeah.
Yep. Which also had Al Leong in it.
I mean, come on, it's Shane fucking Black. Lethal Weapon, Iron Man 3. There was another one where he always puts his movies on holidays. Wasn't Kiss Kiss Bang Bang around Christmas time too? I swear to God. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the Hamlet thing, right?
Yeah, I did wonder about that. If that was a direct shot at Mel Gibson doing Hamlet, the sequence with Jack Slater in the Hamlet trailer. I kind of wonder if that's a shot at Mel.
Yeah, once you mentioned it, I kind of, I mean, Stefan alluded to that it's a little bit of Sly, a little bit of Chuck Norris, and some Mel, but I think it's mostly Mel here. Even though I really like that Hamlet sequence. That was a pretty funny sequence.
That was pretty good.
They only did that once, though. I thought that was gonna be like a thing they did throughout the movie, but that was just the one time that they put Schwarzenegger. Because that was more the Chuck Norris movie we talked about, where they just kind of did these crazy different scenarios where Chuck Norris would just jump into. This was just the one. Then they paid it off because the same guy that plays John Practice, the bad cop, played the guy who killed Mozart. So like,
that's the best joke in the movie. That's the best joke in the movie. Killed Mozart. Yeah.
I kill a lot of people.
What about you, Stefan? Do you think this is kind of a parody of Mel Gibson in particular, or?
Yeah, I think so. Mostly you can see Shane Black's influence, I think, and that's why it's a little lazy. Yeah? It's like he just wrote what he knows. That's true. The other things, it's not on point. It's not even that on point. I mean, this may be the part that is most on point, but the other stuff is just superficial. It's not really a home run as a parody of the action movies in terms of tropes. Yeah, maybe in some of the action scenes, but not in terms of tropes. It's not that clever or.
From what I understand, too,
refined.
They basically were bullshitting the executives as they were going for budget reasons, and just they really, it was chaos. And I wonder if Arnold was even the first choice, or if they had another action hero.
He pushed it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Was Arnold the one that kind of pushed us? Yeah.
Yeah, he was the one who discovered kind of the script.
Yeah.
He was pushing for it.
I
think it reminded me a little of The Expendables, like Sly making a movie, an homage to an era, and you also see he doesn't really understand it.
No,
he doesn't really understand the appeal, and this felt similar to me. I mean, McTiernan is actually, you could say he's the guy who ended this kind of era. I mean, after Die Hard, it was all high concept and with twists, and there was this simplicity that was gone. You know what I mean? This one cop against mafia or something. This was gone at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. This was the end of an era, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we still had one more Die Hard that was good after this, right? That was
Die Hard 3. Yeah.
Well, yeah, with Vengeance. Yeah. I find it interesting though that Charles Dance, who I guess most people know as Tywin Lannister, this is a big.
He
role.
was good.
He was good. He was not the first choice for the role though.
No.
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman turned it down.
Ah, that's funny.
Hans Gruber.
Okay, Stefan said I was crazy, or didn't? You didn't think you think I read too much into it. Speaking of Die Hard, when Jack Slater's hanging on the one side of the building and Danny's on the other, and he says, "Please God, don't let this kid die." That's a Die Hard reference, isn't it? You know, when John McClane's up on the roof, "Please God, don't let me die." I just thought that was the weirdest reference. What an odd line to reference.
And why would even a fake action hero guy now in the real world even think about God anymore? I mean, I don't even.
Robert Maley's posing to us. Who would have made a better Slater? And
I don't think there is
Steven
one.
Seagal.
AC Slater.
AC Slater.
I don't know.
Unless you went like full on spoof, there was really no other way to do this.
Sly could not have done this.
No, God no.
Sly could not have pulled this off.
Or he couldn't have done Terminator either, like they said.
Mel is too much up his ass that he wouldn't have been able to do it. Bruce Willis, I think Bruce Willis could have done it.
93 Bruce Willis, though, he was still kind of giving
I think Bruce Willis could have done this.
Yeah,
he would have had a lot of fun with it. I think.
You know,
I think
it's
he might
funny.
have been a little bit better.
But he would have been too much like McClane.
You know, it's funny you say Bruce Willis, because if I owned this movies as DVDs, I would file it next to Dick Tracy and Hudson Hawk somewhere. I think it's a typical early 90s high concept mess. Is it really? I think this movie might have ended all that, yeah.
Next question, Abe poses to me. If you had a magic ticket to go into any film universe, what would it be? And Marty, you can't just pick up a lightsaber and know how to use it. So
he's not force
if you go into Star Wars, you'll probably die. What do you think? What kind of film universe? Marty, would it be Star Wars?
Yes. Where the fuck else am I going? Come on.
What would you be in Star Wars? Would you be like one of the guys that are like building the Death Star? Like,
I would hope to be a guy like working at the cantina.
Yeah,
hanging out.
Like the cantina owner. That would be a pretty sweet gig. I bet.
Cool job.
Imagine that guy makes some cash.
You know, stays out of trouble. Just kind of lets people do what they do.
He'd be a moisture farmer.
Hey, what about you?
Oh man, you know, I think The Matrix. If I could know if I could know what was really going on, I would take the blue pill and just run fucking amok in The Matrix.
You'd be Joe Pantoliano?
Yeah, basically. Kill them all. Make me famous.
Joey Pants.
Yeah.
Stefan, what about you, Stefan?
Yeah, I guess porn is excluded. So I guess, I don't know, most movie worlds are actually not great to live in if you're not a hero. There isn't actually really, maybe romantic comedy. As awful as these movies are, I think that would be maybe a great place to live there, where Rishmark gets a chick.
You might get stuck with Meg Ryan though, or something.
Oh, Meg Ryan had a
Oh, it's okay. 90s Meg Ryan is okay.
She owned a bookstore. You know, she was nice.
Yeah.
I might go Back to the Future.
That's cheating though, because then you're not staying in that movie. You're going everywhere else.
That's fun. You get the Western, because I'd like to do the Western times, the future. Have Biff be our president. I mean, that happened here in the U.S.
And the Cubs won.
And Cubs won. A year later after the movie, but still, they won.
Talia wants to live in John Wick, which is scary, because most of those people get shot in the head.
I would do Deadwood too. Deadwood seems fun. That's TV universe. That's not film.
Everyone would stink.
Deadwood's fun.
Oh, if we're doing TV, then sign me up for Futurama. It's got blackjack and hookers. So I mean, what else do you need?
I thought you were just gonna say Twin Peaks. Just go live in the Black Lodge.
I want to live in the West Wing.
All right, we got some time left, so we're gonna kind of do. Let's wrap up some last action hero talk, and then let's just kind of do like a mini ranking of Arnold movies, or our favorite Arnold movies. So I think we kind of covered that's what we want to say about Last Action Hero. Is there any final words on that?
It's an ambitious failure, and I think that in of its well, no, I can't think of an action movie I've seen in the last 7 years that had ambition. I don't think so. I mean, I appreciate that they're actually trying to do something. They're failing, but I mean, at least it wasn't completely and utterly safe and bland. They did something there.
Yeah,
I think my final comment, and I said this to Abe, is it was refreshing. Even if it wasn't 100% successful, it was refreshing that they were making action films at a point in time that wasn't Transformers or superhero movies, and you can go and see an action film that was, and that was the bulk of what was being made was not these same genre films, and it was something a little different. And whether it succeeded or not, again, it's up for debate because there's a lot of people that say it's awful, and a lot of people say that it's great. So, but to me, it was to sit back and watch something that wasn't superhero or Star Wars, sorry, Marty, or Transformers. There's just something different. What was nice.
Yeah, more people died in Last Action Hero than when New York got destroyed in the Avengers. Just saying that.
Yes. Yes. Okay, let's go around.
I got his IMDb page.
I had a
What? No,
You
go
got.
ahead.
You
Oh, go
got.
ahead.
I just want to final words. I think, problem isn't just that it fails to do what it does. It could have been still an entertaining movie. What brings it down is then when they try to say something serious, then in the end, and something meaningful. That is what the movie brings down a little.
Well, there were
maybe it would have fun little.
There were
movie,
2 or 3 serious points in the movie where
one
where it's like
it's heavy-handed and complicated,
like
long-winded, complicated.
When they do it, you don't know what to feel. Like the fact that the Jack Slater character is still mourning his dead son and lives on his own, really, and he gets fake phone calls from his ex-wife and shit. Like that was sad, but it's like you don't know what to do with it, really. And then the kid
mixed
and his
messages
stuff,
kill the movie a little. Yeah.
So
right. Also in the ending, the whole with the whatever. Yeah. What I said before, yeah. That's what kills the movie a little bit, what makes it mediocre. But I think it's overall a pretty interesting movie still to watch. And also from a film historical point.
Yeah.
And from the way it was shot, as I said before, it still holds up.
And Buckethead's on the soundtrack, just for that alone, that badass guitar riff, yeah.
Hey, this is pretty cool soundtrack.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fun soundtrack.
Oddly enough, looking at his IMDb as we are now, like this is kind of near the end of peak Arnold.
Oh, Arnold says it is the end.
He did he did a couple more in 94, 95, 96. And then
my fear is actually that.
Oh yeah, True Lies. True Lies was
yeah.
I love Eraser.
I love it. Yeah, I love True Lies and
Eraser's
Eraser are two of
fun.
my favorites, really.
Yeah.
But I think Eraser is the movie that really killed his
You think so?
movie
You think
career.
that's it?
Yes,
That's-
absolutely. Yeah.
He had a lot of bombs. Then, like, the bombs started coming.
Oh, because it was
You know,
Batman,
Eraser-
Robin, End of Days,
Yep.
six day collateral damage. So it was like a
Batman and Robin.
I think my theory is Eraser was actually the first bad decision he really made. He had a few bad movies before, but you could always see why he made them.
Mm-hmm.
You can see why he made Last Action Hero was a good idea.
Yeah.
You can also see actually why he made Batman and Robin because.
But I can see why he made
Batman
Eraser.
Forever made. Yeah,
Good cast.
no, but this was like. This
It was
is a
a-
movie
it was
stuck
kind of
in
a
the
high-
80s,
it was
you
a
know?
different
This is a movie
thing.
that's truly stuck in the 80s. This is.
I don't know if Eraser was
it
that
felt
different of a
old-fashioned
thing.
when it.
Yeah.
It felt very old-fashioned when it came out, and this was like. Before actually, I mean, Annie doesn't have a great range, but he was very clever. He always worked with very good directors. It's great stuff, like very subversive stuff, like Total Recall and very visionary stuff.
This is when we thought Vanessa
This is
Williams would be a
really,
star.
I know. I mean, this one makes Commander really look very elaborate. It looks really fine.
You're right.
And then
Eraser was like the first like non-real good director he worked with, isn't it? He's been working with Cameron and Verhoeven, yeah, and McTiernan. Yeah, wow, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I mean, I actually like Chuck Russell, but this is, this was really very stuck in the 80s and very playing it safe, yeah.
Maybe we'll have to talk about Eraser someday.
I like Eraser. Yeah.
I kind of liked it. There was something different. I don't know. James Caan is always hit or miss when he's trying.
I mean, there's a lot of good people in Eraser, though. Cromwell was in that as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, Eraser's not my pick, even though I do like it. Let's start with Abe. Abe, what's your pick for your top Arnold movie?
Oh, come on. I mean, it is Terminator 2. I mean, that's probably, if not the one of the greatest action films of all time. That's the best Arnold.
Love Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Love
Does it still hold it? I mean, because there's been such shit since it.
What? Oh, the franchise?
With T3, and then the reboot.
It's not like Empire Strikes Back is hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean,
no, it still holds up, and one of the things I love about Terminator 2, the sound, like the sound mix on that, like especially when you hear like the skulls being crushed under like the feet and the tanks, it's so good, and that whole sequence on the building with the Gatling gun where you're hearing the bullets just kind of. I mean, it really is. A great movie for sound. As silly as that seems, that's the thing that always reminds me of Terminator 2 is just how great that sound mix was and how fun that was. But yeah, it's my top action film, or amongst the top action films. That said, if I'm gonna pick an Arnold film, I'm gonna go Predator. I love Predator. I think it's the most enjoyable pure Arnold film, because as great as Terminator 2 was, it does get brought down a little bit by Edward Furlong, and the insistence of actually focusing on him as a character whatsoever. If it was Linda Hamilton and Arnold, then maybe it works a little bit better.
I think he's one of the least annoying child actors.
My God, I think I would rather have had the kid from Salute Your Shorts as the main lead in that movie, as opposed to Edward Furlong.
I'm going to put a picture of Will Wheaton in here for you real quick. Hashtag synergy with Predator. We talked to Bill Duke about Predator. I think Commando is dumb fun. Talked to David Patrick Kelly about Commando, and he's a great villain in that, but looking at this, I think Predator's top of my list. Even though Total Recall's really fun too, but I go Predator. Marty, what about you?
I really like True Lies. It's kind of silly, but
good one. No,
I mean, you guys took the good ones. it was like he was funny in it, and he was also the same action kind of guy. It's the best thing Tom Arnold's ever done. I mean, that's if you can get something good out of Tom Arnold, then you've done something. Jamie Lee Curtis was really good in it as the wife. We talked another synergy. We did our top movies of Bill Paxton. I think this movie was listed as one of our top Bill Paxton movies. It's completely. It's one of his more quotable movies. I think really for like not just his stupid quotes, but like everybody in the movie has some kind of funny line here or there. Either when him and Arnold with Bill Paxton up on the cliff where he's pissing his pants. When Tom Arnold, one of my favorite lines in the movie is Tom Arnold's talking about his ex-wife and how the bitch took the ice cube trays out of the freezer. It's just funny as hell. The end of it is kind of stupid in that, all the over-the-top villainy, and it was one of the first, I guess, it was, terrorist base, and it was one of the first times he did that, I guess. And then, the nuke went off in the Florida Keys, and all he had to do was avert your eyes, and you were all right. And then they kidnap his daughter and put her, he's on a helicopter and all that shit. But it was just a fun, stupid movie. But it was still, the funny parts were good. The action stuff was good. It didn't take itself too seriously.
Oh, no, it didn't.
Stefan.
I gotta go with.
What is Austria's vote?
I go with Conan the Barbarian, of course.
Of
That's
course,
a great movie. So many times. Such a great movie. Best fantasy movie ever. Fuck Lord of the Rings. It's much better. This is powerful, this is powerful writing. This is a great performance by him. It's a very natural performance. I can say. It just fits in perfectly. It's just.
Is that the one where he says they're all sluts?
Yeah, that's the first one. Yeah,
that's the first one, right? Yeah.
There was lots. Grant me revenge. It's just great lines there. And, just he's really, you can see he's funny and he wants to show play Conan. So a perfect movie. It's kind of perfect movie. And great soundtrack also by Basil Brodie-Doris.
That was a very good soundtrack.
Yeah, it's an excellent soundtrack. Also, I think in Predator, as you said before, I think this is one of his most effortless performances. He comes over as badass just very natural. He doesn't have to pose much. You know what I mean? It's very natural. I mean, of course, there's some posing, but it's Predator maybe 2 and Terminator 3. Terminator 2, of course. Sorry. Yeah. And play on 3, spot 3.
So what is best in life?
Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and see the nation of their women. I can't really.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it's only funny with its title.
Let's go a little bit in reverse here. We talked about his best. What's his worst?
Ooh.
6 Day.
Six Days bad. It's so bad. 6 Days.
It's bad
really
because
bad.
it's not remotely funny. I know. I mean,
I put End of
some
Days
of his
over
comedies are
6
hard
Day.
too. End of Days has kind of a camp fun, really.
I agree.
I think actually some scenes that make me laugh. But 6 Days is just boring. And here's a mistake: he just plays a regular schlub. You know, he just plays a regular guy with a family and something. This is something you can't believe. Also, it's Collateral. You know, Collateral is same.
Are we?
mistake.
Are we blaming him for the bad Terminator movies?
T3.
T3 and Genesis, or what the fuck it was called?
Genesis.
He was in that.
Genesis.
I don't think we can blame him, but yeah, maybe.
You can blame Khaleesi.
It's hard to blame him. Can't really blame him for Batman and Robin, although he's awful in that.
Chill out.
Chill.
That wasn't his fault.
No. Jingle All the Way, I could see they were trying to do something different there. I mean, I don't know.
That's pretty terrible.
Abe loves Jingle All the Way. I can't believe you just Sinbad. Come on.
Dave was pretty stupid.
But talking about underrated, I think Raw Deal is.
Wait, Dave?
I meant Junior. I'm sorry. He's listed in Dave for some reason. When was he?
He played himself.
He played
Did
himself.
he? Okay.
Yeah.
I meant Junior. Yeah, I would say Junior.
Raw Deal.
Raw Deal is a little underrated, I think.
Okay.
I am shocked they never
This
tried
one
to
is
do
actually pretty funny, yeah.
Kindergarten Cop 2. I'm surprised they
Well,
didn't.
they are. Well, they're doing a reboot of it with what's his name?
Rock.
Dolph Lundgren?
Dolph Lundgren.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
but it's out already. It's out
yeah,
already.
it's out. Yeah.
Is that already? Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah.
He doesn't have much. He's not doing really anything else. He's got one movie this year called Why We're Killing Gunther, which I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, the big problem is with Arnie career. He doesn't get a big, great role for his age now.
Did you guys see
He
Maggie?
should get another Unforgiven, you know what I mean? She should get some...
He's announced for the next Conan
Great.
movie, but there's nothing else really attached to that.
They've been talking about that Conan movie for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to do it. I think it's going to be the King Conan is what they've been trying to
but
do.
there's still...
Yeah. Did you guys see Maggie or no?
I have not, but I did hear good things about that.
Stefan, did you see Maggie?
I know I didn't see that one, no.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty good.
Burned out on zombies, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's my main reason that I avoided it, but I heard it's pretty good.
It's hard for him to now be an older actor who can just like be in the background of things because he's just so Arnold.
Right.
That every time he shows up, it's you know it's him. He works in these expendable things and shit like that. But
Abe, do you have a least favorite of Arnold's?
Twins. Twins, one of the most
Really?
one of the most overrated comedies ever made.
Wow.
It's not good. It's not that funny.
I don't think it was rated that high.
No, I think it was. It was people. Yeah, well, no, people really enjoyed it in the '80s, and it just.
It's an Ivan Reitman movie too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little overrated.
It's a lot overrated.
It's the first anime movie I saw at the theater.
Oh.
Even, yeah.
And you went back?
8 years. 8 years. Yeah. 8 years old.
I think I saw Last Action Hero in the theaters, if I can remember.
Oh, I did too. Yeah.
I was probably 10 or 11, I think.
trying to think of the first Arnold movie. I saw Twins in the theater. Yeah, I saw Twins in the theater.
I saw True Lies with my grandparents, and I remember feeling very awkward during the Jamie Lee Curtis
the striptease scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it with your grandparents too, and it wasn't that awkward with you and your grandmother.
All right. You guys got anything else? Is there any other news that we need to talk about, or we?
It's been a pretty slow week.
Yeah, I think we're good.
It's like, oh, another person's not doing Suicide Squad 2. That's not really a movie yet. I mean, that was the big news of the week.
Those Facebook bots should just do it. They speak in their own language. And
who's really asking for that movie? I don't even know.
Which one?
Suicide Squad 2.
Oh, somebody is. The kids, man. The kids loved it.
The kids loved it.
I mean, they should take those characters and just put them in different shit. There's no reason. There's no need for another one of them together. A couple good movies this weekend at Dark Towers this weekend, and
yeah,
no one's. I don't think they really screened it yet. I'm not seeing any kind of reviews to it, so that's not a good sign.
Yeah, speaking of movies,
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you read Dark Tower or no? Did you read?
No, I did not. But I was looking forward to it. I thought the trailers looked good, but
I thought the trailers looked
It looks awful.
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
well, that's this weekend in
Crap.
Detroit. There's that in Detroit this weekend. So whichever you guys want to review.
Detroit? What? There's a Detroit movie?
Yeah, with the dude from Star Wars, right?
Yep.
Anakin?
Yes. Annie. Young Annie.
Young Annie's back.
It's young Annie.
Oh,
I think it's dead.
From Jingle All the Way.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out for next week.
Yeah.
John Boyega and Anthony Mackie.
Expendables.
Oh.
Stefan can come back to shit on Expendables.
I'd love to.
All right.
That's it.
Before we close out, I just want to mention some sad news about actor and playwright Sam Shepard, who passed away yesterday. Most people probably don't know him by name. Pretty nice career. He was in a couple movies he was in. He was in The Right Stuff, All the Pretty Horses, Black Hawk Down, The Assassination of Jesse James, and Out of the Furnace. And I think my favorite performance of his in a film was in Cold in July. Really, really cool performance by Sam Shepard. You guys familiar at all, or?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad.
So
73, I think it was. Wasn't?
Yeah.
Nominated for an Oscar once. No wins.
What was he nominated for? Was it All the Pretty Horses or?
Nominated for Best Supporting Actor in The Right Stuff.
Right Stuff. Wow. Oh, look at that.
Nominated for Golden Globe for Dash and Lily.
Very known as a playwright, though. He had a very successful career as a playwright as well. So, check out some of his stuff. Again, I definitely recommend Cold in July. I'm keeping hashtag Synergy up the whole episode because we interviewed Jim Mickle, who directed Cold in July. So, check out that interview as well. Give Marty a hard time of picking out what videos he's going to show over our faces, and
Yeah, there you go.
give you a lot of choices, Marty.
They don't really let us go back that far with the choices.
No, not really. But
It's gonna be last week's and
it's gonna be last week's, right? Yeah, last 3 weeks. That's pretty much what you do. Close out another episode of the Movie Stuff Show. Please make sure to like this video, comment below, and subscribe to us. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter at Movie Stuff Show. Thank you, everyone in the chat. I think let's nominate a chat MVP this week. It's gonna go to Talia.
I'm gonna go Kelly for showing up for the first time.
Oh yeah, Kelly, you're gonna give it to Kelly. That's nepotism, Marty. It's nepotism.
You know,
Can't allow that.
we need to get new people coming in there.
Yeah. Stefan, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's
thank you.
pain
It's nice to
for
be
you to stay up late or wake up early,
it's okay.
whatever it is.
It's okay.
What you got going on? What you got going on? You got any writing stuff going on, or just?
No, I'm taking a break. A prolonged break.
All right.
It's just something.
Well, you're welcome back here anytime. So if you want to come back and talk about anything,
Expendables.
just let us know.
Expendables, yep.
We'll be back next Tuesday live at 9 p.m. Eastern with a brand new episode. You know what we're going to talk about next week, Marty?
Well, it depends if you guys want to go see Dark Tower or Detroit.
I think we're going to talk about a movie and then some stuff.
All right.
You know, people like the stuff.
They do like the stuff. If there's stuff to talk about later.